Hello everyone, my name is Ivan. I'm developing micro-focused business in Georgia. So thank you very much for attending this session. I would like also to thank the organizers to finding out the possibility to meet. Unfortunately not live, but okay, we can do nothing with that case. So regarding that, I'll try to talk about the application security terms live, online, so probably it will be interesting and it will be fruitful for you as well. So let's start our conversation. So first of all, let's talk about the state of software development and application security. So why is it so important to focus on the security of the applications and what can it cause? According to the US Department of Homeland Security, about 80% of applications contain at least one critical or high vulnerability, and 90% of that security incidents are coming from such exploits are caused by defects in the software code. Today's enterprise needs just a new style of protection because not only the existing on-premise systems are now vulnerable, and we, the company, are protecting the most important things, its users, its data, and its applications. But also today we are facing a lot of different issues, maybe or probably the risks from the cloud platforms, from the big data, from some bring your own device concepts in the field. And also the insiders are still the high risky asset here, as well as the external hackers. So to further compound the problem, the number of and complexity of applications is growing. 10 years ago, the software security challenge was about protecting static websites that were fairly innocuous and easy to scope and protect. Now the software supply chain is much more complicated, considering the outsourced development, the number of legacy applications, coupled with in-house development that takes advantage of third-party, open source, and commercial off-the-shelf software. In the context of that, supply chain and how modern applications are built, the security threat becomes even more complex to tackle for most security organizations. The easiest example here is this is the way you and the normal users see the applications, should it be the mobile or the website. It's proposed for the normal use, but unfortunately the same applications are seen this way, or probably could be seen this way by the hackers, where each field which was proposed for some, for example, username or password entrance could be the source of SQL injections. For other bad performance, even the website is also very vulnerable. So according to that, even if you build the different security layers protecting your network by the different devices like, I don't know, firewalls, routers, DMZs, and other things like that, you should always pay attention to the application security part. And in this way, we see our product Fortify to be built in the software development process on the stages between the producing the software and before deploying it. So today's business needs, as you know, are increasing. And for example, almost all business is a digital business today. So IT plays a lot of important roles, and the software development is becoming more and more important, making the business needs more and more precise. So if we can see this, and I think it will be approximately the same for all the countries, the number of applications today are dramatically increased, and the number of releases is increased as well, because, for example, for about 10 years ago, the organization could run only on one or two applications, and releasing the new versions of them maybe quarterly or twice per year or something like that. But today's trends are moving the developers to the new standards, to the new speed. even here, as one of the example, Amazon, for example, is releasing the code and deploying it once per 12 seconds, and it's really, really very fast, and it's really very hard to keep up with it. So traditionally, software development was intended to look like this. It was called a waterfall, while the development stage was very straight and simple. But to keep up with the increasing demand, many businesses are adopting DevOps as the preferred approach for rapid development and continuous delivery of the applications. Because, DevOps offers IT organizations improvement speed and development by embracing a collaborative approach between development and operations. But however, in most cases, security has been an afterthought to DevOps. So it means for example, DevOps brought a lot of benefits here, but we always should remember that security is one of the important things here. And for example, the security teams, I think it's also a global problem, could not keep up with the development teams and with the other teams and requirements of the market. So regarding to that, from our point of view, security is one of the most important things which we integrated into the software development lifecycle. It looks like the right approach for the security assurance, while you use security on the development stage, while you use security part or security procedures and processes into the testing stage. And of course, it's very important to continuously monitor your software to protect it and find out all the possible issues there. This way, DevOps looks like one of the very comfortable and suitable things to integrate the security into the process. And if we just cover up all these DevOps process with our products, it will look like that. And then on the development stage, we can start integrating the security procedures like scanning the source code on-prem in the cloud. During the test stage, we can also provide our product to scan the websites or web services for any possible issues there. And also on the detection stage or the production stage, we can integrate there and monitor the applications for any probable issues. And of course, just to conclude it smoothly, the security in this way should support the integration. So with any existing tools, and automation is also one of the very important things here, to not freeze and not stop the release speed, because as we had spoken previously, business needs the speed. The agility also is very important thing to provide the needs of the customers as fast as possible. So the security should stay in touch with all these trends for sure. So what are we doing in general? There are two main approaches, which is called white box testing and black box testing. Of course, there is some kind of their combination or mix. It's gray box testing. I'll talk about it later on. So white box means that we have access to the source code of the application, and we can scan it to find out any possible issues or any possible vulnerabilities within the code. The dynamic one means that we have already running or already ready web application or web service, and we are trying to breach it to find any 0 days, any vulnerabilities, any possible breakthroughs to damage it. And afterward, of course, your development team can act to prevent all these issues in the software code or the infrastructure itself. There are two products called Fortify SCA, Static Code Analyzer, and Fortify Webinspect, which are intended for these purposes. And if we look a bit further on the software development lifecycle, of course, on the very, very simple stage, we have here design, code, test, and the production stage. Let's split it just on this way. So we can act starting on the code stage. And the product here, as I had mentioned previously, is Fortify Static Code Analyzer, which can scan the code just after it's already compilable, buildable, but before it goes further for the tests or pre-production stage. During the test stage, their product is Webinspect, which can cover test and also cover part of production, because Webinspect is one of the very useful and famous tool in terms of the penetration testing of the web applications. And on the production stage, of course, it's Application Defender, which monitors and finds out the pattern of the attacks during the application in production. All this is covered up by on-prem product, which can be developed within your within your organization, or it all can be done from the cloud as a service from our cloud, which is called Fortify On Demand. So why Fortify? Because for about 7 years consecutively, we are in the Gartner Magic Quadrant leaders. Because we cover full this scope, because you can see a lot of organizations, major organizations are our strategic partners, are using our products in different countries worldwide. So we are really reliable in this way. This is a small ecosystem slide of the Fortify. I'll just keep it here for you for further information. I just do not want, and I could not fit in this time to talk about the deep technical details. So just for the more technical guys, keeping this slide here should be probably useful for them. You can see here we're integrating with a lot of different tools. With the IDs, we support containerized infrastructure. We are also available to work with the clouds, with Azure, AWS. So we can build with build servers. We can integrate to the IDs and other things. I'll talk about this further on. So let's begin from the static application security testing, which is also called the white box, as I found out on the previous slides. And the main concern here is that for sure the finding out the bug and eliminating it costs a lot of during the deployment or already production state, but it's much more cheaper, not only in terms of the money, but also in terms of the resources of the developers, of the time to market and other stuff. So this is some kind of shift left paradigm in terms of the time, which means the earlier you find out and fix the issue, the easiest and more convenient it should be for you, the cheapest it will be for the business, and the fastest the application will go to the market itself. Due to that, the most important things are to scan the source code here, which we already can do. To be able to integrate to the development environments, because for the developers it's very convenient to work within their own infrastructure, within their own environment, so we can do it as well. And also one of the most important things there is the knowledge sharing, which I will show you later on. So for the moment we support already 26 programming languages, not 25. But it's the most on the market. There are many different types, different languages, all the new versions supported. Also, we are working and improving always continuously our accuracy of the finding out vulnerabilities, and I'll also talk about the tools which are helping us to do it. Integration with IDE was already mentioned by me. Integration with the many different tools was also mentioned. And also the scalability of the product is very good in terms of you can mix on-prem with the cloud solutions. You can combine it in the one point, like local on-prem software security center, and work on the complex project there. Here is the list of the languages we support now. All of them are continuously updated. All of them are supported up to the latest versions. You can see here the Python as well is one of the most important languages, let us say, for today. Also, we support SAP and BAP language, Objective-C for developing the iOS products, and many, many others. Almost all languages are presented here. I guess we cover at about, I think, 95 to 98% of the languages used on the market. Regarding the integration with the different tools, Also, we can see it here by integrating on the every stage of the software development lifecycle is supported by our product. So, if, for example, you're using CI/CD server like Jenkins, we can automate all the processes by integrating to it and building in the pipelines. We can work with, for example, Jira or Bugzilla in terms of the opening tickets for the issues. Here you can see, for example, IntelliJ, which it will support the full integration by the ID plugin. Also the Gradle, Maven, and all these tools are supported, and we can work with all of them. As well as we support the Microsoft environment fully, starting from the Visual Studio plugins up to Azure DevOps. Everything is supported here. So the cycle typically looks like that. While it's, I guess, very simple, and it's just showing you how the security can be integrated into the process without interrupting it, for example. So while the developers are checking in the code to the repository, we can take this code from the repository, scan it, put the results on the central server in terms of on-premise, for example, and the scan results are some kind of one file called FPR, Fortify Project Result, which then can move to the auditors for the review. After review, the auditors can open the tickets in bug tracking system, for example. Developers can take all these bugs assigned to them from the bug tracking, and the source code within the reviewed issues, FPR file, as I said previously, can be taken directly to their environments to work with it. Not like with the PDF file only to read a lot of pages there, but it's enoughly convenient, the interactive way to fix all that issues. And of course, processes repeatedly. So here is the product suite. Let me just miss several slides here because this presentation was intended for a bit more time, but unfortunately we are strict a bit in time. So I'll focus on the main and general things. We also support the multi-language platform, which is also very important in the modern environment and modern development. While the developers use the different languages within one project, we can take it as the one whole project, make a translation to our NST format, which is called Normalized Syntax Tree for the Fortify. It's the intermediate language. And after that, the analysis will run on our NST. So it means that there is no matter how many languages and what approach is on the input stage, we can just translate it to the one simple normalized tree, and we'll do the scan across all the platform fully and not splitting by the, for example, here we scanned C#, here we scanned Python and other things like that. It's a bit more technical details how the stages look like. Here, let me just mention that we can work by the standard rules, which are developed by the Fortify team itself, as well as the rules are customizable, or you can create your own in terms of the adjusting the maybe frameworks, maybe work approaches, maybe the different approaches within your organization. All this is supported. Here are the different operators which work with it. And on the output, as I said, will be the Fortify project result FPR file, which contain all the vulnerabilities, which contain the list of issues, the category of them, and also the very important thing, it contains the documentation and explanation and recommendations about them. So all the issues are classified for critical, high, medium, and low, and for sure, for us, the criticality is always indicated by impact. So the higher is the impact of this issue, the possible impact, the higher is the category of this issue, nevertheless of its likelihood. One of the components here, which I was talking about, one of the most important thing in terms of the shift left paradigm is the security assistant. So it's a small plugin for the IDE. On the screen, you can see the Visual Studio example, which is doing some kind of the spell check in terms of security. It means like upon you type something, it can check the most obvious issues, like not hard coding the passwords, like not putting the typical mistakes in terms of security, and highlight them directly here, which will for sure help the developers to initially build a secure code to avoid some simple mistakes in this way, and at the end it will of course save a lot of time on fixing them furthermore. Software Security Center, as I mentioned, it's also one of the very interesting products which just collaborates all the scans and makes possibility for the teams to work integrated, collaborated, and all the integrations with the other products is also done by the man of this Software Security Center. For example, Jenkins is sending scan results after the scanning process to the SSC and taking back some inputs from it, where you can, for example, stop your pipeline on finding out critical risks or high risks, or do the different fine-tunings there. So the Software Security Center is responsible for all this process management, let us say this way. So all the auditors, all the developers can log in there, can do the audit of the issues, can track all the issues with the source code there, as well as they can download that FPR file to their workstations and work with it. Another important thing here to increase the accuracy, as I mentioned in the beginning, is the Audit Assistant application. It's not application, it's some kind of module, which is based on our knowledge base in the cloud, and which is helping the auditor in the beginning to identify the possible false positives, possible issues, combining the different issues, which will for sure increase the speed of the audit, especially in the beginning when you do the first scan. For sure there will be a lot of first findings, and each next step will be faster and faster. So to increase the speed on the first stage, Audit Assistant is a very important part. The next thing is for sure efficiency, because when the auditor needs to review for about hundreds of issues, the Audit Assistant's recommendations will help him to decide which one is more important or less important, or something like that. If we'll have some time, I'll try to show a small demo, but to tell the truth, I'm not sure we will fit in time. So regarding that, there are my contacts available, and furthermore, in case of some interest, we can schedule some separate sessions, individual ones, some maybe workshops, and I'll show you all the process working with live demo and so on. And of course, accuracy is also the important thing. It will Audit Assistant will try to avoid some human mistakes on the auditing stage. So let's go on for the dynamic application security. And here we have a bit different situation from the static code analysis, because while we were doing the static code analysis, we had all the code in place, we can find out the vulnerabilities, and as I mentioned in the first slide by the researchers, maybe the 19% of the issues are coming from there, but we have still remaining some issues which can be caused by the user actions and which cannot be found in the static code. Like one of the things is the non-exploitable parts or issues of the server. Should it be IIS, Apache, or other servers where the application run? Should it be some user actions which can be performed and cause some downtimes or inappropriate actions on some the things like that? So dynamic application security testing is mainly intended for that purposes. We can find vulnerabilities in your web applications, as I had figured out previously. So while you have it running, and of course, it's highly recommended not to do it on the production, because you'll probably get a denial of service during this scan. We can just scan this application and find out all the possible vulnerabilities there. It can be also automated to built in within the DevOps. It has open API, so it's possible to do a lot of customizations with it. It has very good compliance management in terms of getting the reports, acting as the web service or web applications penetration testing tool, with intending the GDPR compliance, should it be OWASP, PCI, or any other things. There are a lot of preloaded templates for the reporting there. And one of the also very important thing for the dynamic scan results, it can be combined with the static one. So for example, you have the application, which was on the static stage scanned. So the source code was scanned by SCA, for example. After that, you had compiled it to the web application. You're running it in the test environment. You can run also the dynamic scan on it. And after that, we will aggregate the results of the different scans to find out maybe probable security trend there or some attack patterns or other things like that. So it's working very simple. It's just sending the typical possible attacks based on the knowledge base by the Fortify specialists, which is gathered growth, and it's updating our products periodically. So all the typical attacks or requests are coming to the server, getting the responses back, and after that, all the probable actions can be imitated there. Like we can enter some credentials to deep dive for the application, to log in somewhere and find out all the possible actions inside. And of course, the found issues are classified here with the critical, high, medium, and low categories. And the process afterwards looks much more like the static one. So the approach is different, but the security issues finding and recovering them is like the same. And one of the additional thing, if you remember, I was talking about the gray box approach, is installing agent on the same machine which has been scanned by the Webinspect. So in this way, we are approaching the front end by our product. We are scanning for index files, finding out what's going on in the front, and the agent on the same time can work on the background on that machine and find out all the possible vulnerabilities which can be exploited by the in-house hackers, for example. This approach is exactly called the gray box, while we do not know the environment from the one part, but from the second part, some kind of the in-house bad guy is helping us to break in through the web front. Real-time application security, the product called Application Defender, and for sure it's not WAF, because its main functions are monitor but not strict or protect something. So its main purpose is it's an agent which is installed on the same server where your web application runs, and it monitors all the incoming traffic for your application. It finds out all the possible attack patterns, and after that it's logging all the activity and sending the probable severity scoring and notifications to the external logging systems for the developer to take some actions. And of course, all these possible patterns are monitored, are gathered, and are implemented into the Software Security Center as measured. There can be the different use cases for this tool. One of the most important thing is, of course, logging, is real-time monitoring and alerting. And as I mentioned here, for example, we do not have here an approach to protect all the traffic, because it can cause some functionality denials or freezing of the application, which is not so good practice. And the last but not least thing here is Fortify On Demand. It's our cloud service, which is gathering all the benefits of the previously described products with the addition of the manual review service. So it means that whatever you use, the static analysis, the dynamic analysis, you can also apply our experts' manual review and involvement in this process. So after getting the scan results, our auditor will review the application, will group the issues, will filter out the false positives, will give some recommendations, and it's also really a very good and useful service for your auditors, for your developers, to increase the speed, to increase the accuracy of the scanning and of the application security pattern in general. From here, we also get the possibility to scan the mobile applications, web services, as I mentioned, of course, by the method of dynamic scan. The static scan is also presented here. And one of the interesting things here is the educational part. We are partnering with the Secure Code Warrior website, which is giving the trainings for the developers to teach them write the secure code. Maybe it will be interesting for some of the development teams, especially for junior developers, which are most part in the organizations. So out of the Fortify On Demand and now out of the Fortify Software Security Center, you can gain access to the basic trainings on this Secure Code Warrior website under our partnership. And the last thing, of course, our presentations, as you are aware of, was intended for March. So for that period, it was very actual. The Secure Code Warrior was planning some Secure Code tournament during the May. So today it's probably already out of dated, but further on, there will be, I guess, also different tournaments there, and you can just go there and take a look of how it's going on. Another thing is here are the several useful links about not only our products, but in general, the application security part. So we have our channel on YouTube called Fortify Unplugged, where there are a lot of different and interesting videos in terms of the product usage, in terms of the application security approaches. Here we have also the vulnerability categories by Fortify. It's some kind of knowledge base for your developers, for your security auditors. Secure Code Warrior had already mentioned there, and also we have a channel on BrightTalk where the Fortify videos are presented and many interesting things can be found out there. So thank you for your time. I think I'm almost fit in my 30 minutes. So as I had mentioned before, I'm always ready to go on further showing you the functionality and possibilities of the static code analyzer, of the dynamic analyzer, of all these approaches, of some integrations and things like that. So I'm open for this. So you can just contact me via the organizers, or even I will now display my first slide with the contacts. You can reach me directly. This is my email here. So thank you again. Wish you, first of all, health in these difficult times, and see you